Hello, we are here to introduce the Utilization-Focused Evaluation Approach, U.F.E.
This presentation was developed by Biddings, Miranda, Tucker, and Williamson. The purpose. According to Fitzpatrick, 2011, U.F.E. primary purpose is to inform decisions, and it uses most likely to occur if the evaluator identifies one or more stakeholders who care about the evaluation and are in a position to use it. Within the U.F.E., the evaluator's job is to facilitate the decision-making process between the individuals who will be involved in using the findings of the evaluation rather than making decisions independently of the intended users. U.F.E. is based on the belief that an evaluation should be judged on its usefulness to its intended users. With this in mind, evaluations should be planned and conducted in ways that ensure the utilization of the findings in the process to inform decisions and, as a result, improve performance.
The U.F.E. design proposes two essential elements. The first element suggests that the primary intended users of the evaluation must be clearly identified and personally engaged at the beginning of the evaluation process to ensure that their primary intended users can be identified. Furthermore, the second element recommends that evaluators must ensure the intended users of the evaluation by the primary intended users guide all other decisions that are made about the evaluation process. Rather than focusing on general and abstract users and uses, the U.F.E. stresses the importance of focusing on real and specific users and uses.
Philosophical perspective. Philosophy and process of evaluation is built in from the beginning. It involves working relationships between evaluators and primary users. It is specific to a situation. To gain commitment to the evaluation process, the active participants must be open to change. Primary users must be engaged in decisions related to evaluation. They must also be able to identify methods and formulate the evaluation plan.
Adapting U.F.E. represents a significant departure from the more contemporary practice in the field. The challenge to change requires more work of project staff. One of the challenges is the orientation and thinking on the part of both evaluators and project staff. There are many factors that may tend to divert staff and the evaluators engaged in your project from a focus on utilization of evaluation results with a genuine commitment to project/practice improvement. However, it is more than possible to shift your evaluation plans to produce results you can actually use.
History of the development of U.F.E. is an evaluation done with a specific, intended primary use. Evaluators should facilitate the evaluation process and design any evaluation with careful consideration for how everything that is done from the beginning to end will affect use. U.F.E. should be judged by their utility and actual use. Contrary to the beliefs of most non-researchers, there are no universal and absolute standards for judging the appropriateness of evaluation methods. Rather, the criteria for quality are necessarily situational and context-bound.
And U.F.E. decisions about focus and priority issues are guided and informed by our evaluation goal, intended use by intended users. The best way to achieve this goal is to involve the intended users in making decisions about evaluation methods. The U.F.E. evaluator advises intended users about options. The U.F.E. also points out the consequences of a variety of choices. It engages users actively to consider alternatives and facilitates their method of decisions. At the stage of choosing methods, the evaluator remains a technical advisor, consultant, and teacher. The potential outcome of U.F.E. is that it increases utilization of evaluation.
Dr. Patton is an outdoorsman. He hikes the Grand Canyon, climbs mountains in Colorado, and enjoys the woods and rivers of Minnesota, kayaking, cross-country skiing, snowshoeing.
Dr. Patton received his doctorate in sociology from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. He spent 18 years on the faculty of the University of Minnesota, including 5 years as director of the Minnesota Center for Social Research and 10 years with the Minnesota Extension Service.
Dr. Patton has written 5 books on the art and science of program evaluation, including Utilization-Focused Evaluation, in which he emphasizes the importance of designing evaluations to ensure their usefulness, rather than simply creating long reports that may never get read or never result in any practical changes. He has written about evaluation, and worked in the field beginning in the 1970s when evaluation in the nonprofit sector was a relatively new development.
Dr. Patton was trained in positivist quantitative methodology. One of his earliest influences that formed his world outlook came from sociology. His interest in sociology came from an unexpected place. He writes that, in paying homage to root influences, I have to include the Beatles. Yes, the 60s rock group. You see, they are responsible for my becoming a sociologist, and sociology has shaped my worldview about evaluation use.
Dr. Patton recounts how he was mesmerized by the hysterical screaming and unrestrained adulation, frenzied dancing and occasional fainting, during the group's appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show. After watching the show, he wrote an English course essay about the experience, only to be advised by the unnamed course professor who felt his fascination with the experience, to venture into sociology to quench his thirst for answers to his enthrallment, advice which he followed. Dr. Patton states, sociology gave him a solid grounding in quantitative methods, theory construction, philosophy of science, and sociology of knowledge, all of which have influenced his evaluation thinking and practice.
This point is further underlined when he states that he is a product of an institution, University of Wisconsin, where quantitative methods were highly esteemed during his time as a student and where his graduate training had been entirely quantitative. The driving force behind logical positivism was the formation of a scientific society comprised of all scientists from different scientific fields.
During his time as a student at the University of Wisconsin in the 1960s, he was introduced to organizational sociology and learned about change management from the literature of Etzioni, Hage and others. The fundamental idea that captured Patton's attention in the theorist's discussion of conflict is the pronouncement that it is not always the substance of change itself that is the source of resistance to change, but rather how the transition from one way of doing things to another is managed. In one extreme, the tendency is for the management to exclude other stakeholders, thus causing dissatisfaction among the sidelined.
On the other end of the pendulum, there is excessive engagement which prolongs the process to an extent that when change occurs, it is almost difficult to tell the influence of all stakeholders. Preference is given to a middle path between the two extremes. This influence is evident in Dr. Patton's approach to stakeholder involvement in utilization-focused evaluation, whereby attempts are made to tackle conflict in a manner that will satisfy all stakeholders, particularly intended users of evaluation.
U.F.E. model does not promote any specific evaluation content, model, method, theory, or even use. Rather, it is a process intended to assist users select the most appropriate content, model, methods, theory, and uses for their particular situation. U.F.E. begins with the premise that evaluations should be judged by their utility and actual use. Therefore, evaluators should facilitate the evaluation process and design any evaluation with careful consideration.
U.F.E. is highly personal. People are at the heart of this model. The evaluation facilitator develops a working relationship with its intended users to help them establish what kind of evaluation they need. This model requires a discussion in which the evaluator offers a variety of options within the framework of the model to the target audience based on the set goals for the evaluation.
This model could be used in many educational programs, from a curriculum evaluation to a behavior evaluation. The checklist created by Patton provides a solid foundation in which to start. If the model is used in the way that it is intended, educators will feel that they were included in every step of the evaluation and walk away with complete ownership of the results. This in turn will hopefully raise the success rate of the program that is being evaluated.
The implementation techniques of U.F.E is based on the framework for enhancing the actual use and utility of evaluations. Since this model relies on everyone being held accountable, groundwork and expectations are laid out in the very beginning. Implementation includes the evaluator to identify the intended users and involve them heavily in identifying evaluation questions that meet their information needs. Implementation in U.F.E is based the discussions between the evaluator and all the stakeholders.
No evaluation should go forward unless and until there are primary intended users who will use the information that can be produced.